Well, Grey Gardens is a subject that I found out by well, Michael and I got very interested in the idea of the Grey Gardens, and it was a magical place or kind of an unusual place in the Hamptons, in East Hampton, Long Island. So one day I was I was trying to figure out what I wanted to paint. And Michael had the video. We got very interested in the video, which the Maisley brothers created back in 1980. And we were watching that, and Michael said something, this is something that you really should paint. It's kooky, it's crazy, it's something you would like. And I looked at it, and I really got into Grey Gardens. Then I said, how am I going to paint this? So I figured the best way to do it was to get the video and look at it, and I did. And after looking at the video, I found that I could stop a frame, and I photographed the frame to give me the image that I was very interested in. And then I copied that image and painted it. And that's how I created, I think, maybe about 20 paintings from Grey Gardens. And I really never forgot about Grey Gardens. It was a subject that I always liked, and I find that people were interested in it too. So then I discovered about Peter Beard, and when his painting comes up, we'll talk about it. A lot of famous people went to Grey Gardens. Jacqueline Kennedy, of course, was the first one. She was very upset because her aunt Edie, Big Edie, was the cousin of Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, and she was a Bouvier, and so was Jackie. And Jackie was very disturbed by the idea that the way the place looked, and she sent the whole crew out to East Hampton to straighten the place out, and they did. And it looked a lot better after she did her number there. But I continued to photograph the different frames that I was interested in, and I created a collection of paintings. And then I found out about Peter Beard going there. I have a photo of him, which you'll see eventually. He was being interviewed by, here it is. This is Peter. He went to Grey Gardens, did a lot of other people. And he interviewed young Edie, and here she is with him. And he took this photograph of her, which is this photograph. He came to see Grey Gardens, as a lot of people did. And she had this chair, which she had bought in Bloomingdale's in the 50s. And it was just sitting in her garden and falling apart. The springs were showing, the material was ripped and gone from a lot of places. And he asked her to sit in the chair, and he wanted to photograph her. And he photographed this pose of her in black and white. And I have a photo of the way it looked when it was black and white. And I added the color to it. And I think it's an interesting painting. You could see the material is ripped. It's been rotting in the garden, falling apart, and it's just perfect for her, I thought. This is called the birthday party. Big Edie was 80 years old, and young Edie planned a birthday party for her. And she had a birthday cake, and all the people around in the area came to Grey Gardens for the cake. And this is her in the outfit that she did. Everything about Edie, she always wore the brooch that was her mother's. And she wore that brooch in almost every painting. And they all had a good time for the party. This is a portrait of young Edie. She's wearing the brooch. She's sitting in her bed. She's leaning on her bed. And I guess somebody asked her to take a picture. This one is called The Stars and Stripes Forever. The music of the Stars and Stripes Forever is played in the background in the video, and you see her dancing, holding an American flag, waving it. It was on the 4th of July. Oh, this is Big Edie. Her favorite song was T for two, and two for T, and you for me, and me for you. We will raise a family, etc., etc. But she sang it in the video in one bed, and her daughter was in the other bed. And it's a great scene doing it. She played with her hat as she did it. Oh, Staunchy. She had this hat. She stretched and she says, "Nobody is more staunchy than me." I love it. And she wore the brooch on top of the headpiece that she had. She had alopecia. That's why she always covered her head. Her hair was falling out. But I love the scene. This one is called Spring Will Come. And it was photographed after Jackie had been there. And there was the New York Times put on a dresser in her bedroom. Mama Edie is sitting in a rocking chair. She has Mama Edie's or Big Edie's fur coat on. And they had the daffodils on the table on top of the New York Times. And she's saying, "Spring will come, have your hopes." You know, you could see the crack in the mirror too, in the mirror that was on the dresser. That's Peter. This is Peter Beard with Edie, young Edie, and I think I had described what happened before. He's having a glass of wine and sort of relaxing at the Grey Gardens.
Can you describe Peter Beard?
Well, he was a very famous photographer, and he had gone to Africa. He did a famous book called The End of the Game. It was about shooting all the elephants, and it's a great book. And my partner, Michael, had taken his class. He gave a copy of the book to us, and he signed it to Michael from Peter. And it's a wonderful book. I mean, it's so sad. You see all the elephants piled up, people taking the tusks and all that stuff. But he was very famous for that book. It was a photography class because he taught photography in New York. He was pretty well known as a famous photographer. He was unusual, different, you know. And Michael got very into his class. He loved it. And he would go every week he couldn't wait to go back and see what Peter had to offer them. This one is, well, she was into astrology. She was a Libra. And it's called Libra Man. It's one of my favorite paintings because she's trying to figure out, she wanted a boyfriend. And she wanted him to be a Libra like herself. So she got this astrology book and it told her what a Libra man would be all about. She's sitting on the porch and she's got a magnifying glass. And the book tells her everything about a Libra man. And I tell you, it's one of my favorite poses of her. This is the main photo of the Grey Gardens. It shows young Edie in front of the building as it was deteriorated before Jackie got there. It became overgrown. It was a beautiful estate. It was a beautiful place. But all the plants start mingling into each other. It just became one big mess. And that's one of the things that made Jacqueline Kennedy go out there and try to straighten out. And this is her wearing her mother's fur coat and pose in front of the house itself. This is Edie getting corn. It's outside the porch. On the porch they had a church view, and they would have these people local deliver vegetables and things to them to eat. And this is probably in the midsummer, like August or something, or maybe the beginning of September. And they used to drop everything off outside on the porch and put it on the bench. And she would go out to collect it. This is, again, it's her dancing. in the hallway. I don't know what music there is to it, but she loved to dance. She wanted to be a performer more than anything. Her only problem was she didn't know how to leave her mother, and the mother had such a great control over her. And Edie, her brothers ran away. Everybody left the place, but she could not get away from Mama. And she wound up staying there until Mama died. And then she wound up going to New York. She wound up in a gay bar called Reno Sweeney's. And the people loved her. And I think she died around the turn of the century, earlier, maybe 203 or 204, something like that. But that became her main focus in life when she got away from my mother. All right, so we would have Big Edie would be sitting in her bed. This was a daily thing that they did. She'd be sitting in her bed, and then young Edie would be sitting in her bed. And Mama and young Edie would converse back and forth. And then they'd turn on the music. They loved their martinis. So the music would go on, and then Mama would start singing, and young Edie would start singing. And this would go on all daily, and this shows them the way they were in the same room in separate beds. This one is called Best Outfit of the Day, and it takes place in an overgrown part of the garden where wild roses were growing. And Edie comes out. She had designed this outfit. It was a tablecloth and this brown, I don't know what it is that she's wearing, but you could see her girdle underneath, or her underwear. And she's there dressed with and she has the brooch from her mother in her hair. And she said, "This is the best outfit of the day. This is the best outfit I could find to wear today. I created it myself." That was that painting.